Come and walk with me through history. There's something I want you to see.
Hi, you see this lovely mansard roofed house here at 4 Walker Street in Portland? Well, it was built in 1868 for a Portland dry goods merchant named Albert Barry Butler. He was a well-respected businessman and lived here until he died in 1907. But more importantly, this was the late 20th century home of Frannie Peabody, a woman who made twin marks on this city, not only with her tireless efforts at historic preservation, but also for her fearless and pioneering work as an AIDS activist, something she didn't even start until she was 80 years old. Follow me, and I'll tell you more about the amazing Mrs. Peabody. Frannie Peabody was born in Washington, D.C. in 1903. She grew up in the New Mexico Territory before it even became a state, and graduated from Smith College in 1925. Frannie ended up in Maine when her husband Millard moved his shoe factory to Freeport. In 1964, Frannie helped found Greater Portland Landmarks to help stem the tide of rapid destruction brought on by the urban renewal craze back then. And while raising her 4 children, she also helped raise money and direct the restoration of the McClellan Sweat Mansion at the Portland Museum of Art. She also helped work on the Victoria Mansion Restoration Committee, worked on researching and restoring the Longfellow House, as well as the Merritt House in Standish and the Parson Smith House in Wyndham, and Frannie managed the historic Tate House in Stroudwater. And as a member of the National Society of Colonial Dames, she oversaw 23 different historic house museums on the East Coast. As Frannie reached her 80s with all that important work under her belt, you'd think she might call it a day and rest, but you'd be wrong. In 1983, her grandson was diagnosed with AIDS, and when he died the next year, Frannie was horrified not only by his death, but also by the stigma attached to the new disease, which many people at the time regarded as something that only affected immoral people on the fringes of society. Now, she turned her grief and dismay into action, though, helping to start the AIDS Project, the first organization in Maine providing prevention information, case management services, and advocacy for HIV/AIDS patients. She was 82 years old at the time, and she cut quite a swath back then, looking like a prim, pearl-wearing, white-haired New England matron in a smart suit, all the while preaching safe sex, condoms, and gay rights to anybody that would listen. And that included politicians, reporters, and the city's wealthiest blue blood families. But Frannie Peabody still wasn't done. And in 1995, she opened Peabody House, an assisted living and hospice facility for people with advanced stages of HIV/AIDS. It was a home-like place where people who were often shunned by their loved ones received compassionate, dignified care right to the end. And for a decade, she led a weekly support group and personally kept in touch with young men and their families in isolated rural parts of Maine. Frannie would even host out-of-town families at her Walker Street home who were visiting relatives in Portland hospitals and couldn't afford a hotel. In June 2001, wearing a purple suit, sporting a fabulous feather boa, and riding in the back of a convertible car, Frannie Peabody was the Grand Marshal of Portland's Pride Parade, and she died just a few days later at the age of 98. Few people in the history of this city can claim a legacy like Frannie Peabody. You can see it in the countless historic buildings she helped save, places that wouldn't be here without her efforts. But maybe more importantly, we should remember Frannie Peabody for the people she saved, and the things she taught us all about compassion, about activism, and about love.